when people asked her for permission. And I don't write, that's not my art. I can't be forced to do something. But when she looked at the painting that this is based on, and Red Sky is done by, and I'll explain this a little bit later because it hangs now at LA College, the library. And it's a painting, and then this poem is really great. So you can read the poem and you can see the painting. But the painting, Red Sky, looks just like the Bates Mill. So when she saw that, she said this gave her memories of her grandmother. And that's where I'm going to read this. So, Red Sky. At 14, my grandmother... I don't have my glasses on.
They're on your head. Do you want my glasses?
Anybody have glasses? I just had cataracts removed, so I haven't seen my optometrist about new reading glasses. But these will work for me. So my grandma and mine are in the car. My grandmother walked toward the red sky, toward the sun glancing its gold at every mill window. She saw how, over the border, her dreams had flocked and flown ahead. Set their eyes on shimmering things, glint of river, the silver ring, bits of satin, the speckled trout sleep. She imagined the leaves of trees would unfurl as she came, glisten with their green notions, her own heart hope. Birds on the limbs would twitter and whistle their welcomes, and the waft of hyacinth would tug at her frock, nudge her hand softly while she worked. Instead, she came to a city of cold seasons. The red dusk hung over her. The sun stared at her with its one sullen eye. When she stared, the mill windows let out their cold, blue, old breath. Every brick hissed a promise or two, and no bird sang. At 16, my grandmother walked toward her future husband, toward the wide horizon of his eyes. And as she neared, she saw her dreams aflutter, alighting there. She quickened her step to meet this destiny, unfolding its morning songs and blossoms. She could not glimpse yet all the future children opening their eager hands to receive all the books she would come to love. She could not see quite yet all the lilacs growing close to factory walls. This poem was commissioned by the University of Southern Maine, a college, LA College, as a companion piece to the painting Red Sky by the urban primitivist Ralph Fasanella. And if you know Ralph Fasanella's work, he did a lot of baseball parks, which was interesting.
Good name.
This painting and the poem can be seen side by side at LA College, as I mentioned earlier. But again, like I said, this, a commission was not something that she really embraced that much. But in this case, it worked. And I think it was the only commission that she ever, and she was asked a number of times to do that, but she says, I don't work that way. So anyway, thank you all for coming and honoring her presence. And my daughter sends her regards. She's currently in Portugal on a sabbatical trip by herself. So she's traveling on her own, kind of walking in the footsteps of her mom.
Thank you, Jim. And that picture it's at LA College, and it is beautiful. It's a beautiful picture, and it's a beautiful poem. And I remember reading that 20 years ago, thinking, who the heck is that? But it's really something special. So we're going to continue on with reading Susan's poems, and we have a list of people. And Sue Marcoux, come on down.
Thank you.
This was a very hard decision which poem to pick because so many of her poems touched my heart. so many memories that I have when I read her poems. I can feel her love and her, it's as though I'm sitting there with her. It's the only way I can explain it. So I chose to read after, sorry Jim, I chose to read a count because for me that, well, you'll see.
Step closer, Jim.
Autumn, bounty falls in single night's wind. Now the apples await, glance upward their reds, their greens from the ground. I will take account of this beauty left, pick the best of the bruised drops. At dusk, wild turkeys emerge from the shades of poplar, ash, grape, stride in their twilight trance up the slope to the grove. Night now. Daughter, let me tell you the sum of my day. Gathered a bushel of apples, saw 13 turkeys, then a flock of robins and 2 companion flickers on the bank. Oh, how the red blazed on their heads. The afternoon was warm, but already birch leaves scatter on the patio under my feet. So many bees were gathering on the mint, I could not cut it down. The blossoms like spires of mauve and the bees buzzing late prayers there in the last land of milk and honey. I remembered how the big maple shed 1,000,000 leaves, how you and I raked them up into an expansive heap of yellows and reds. They are late falling this year. How you jumped in, I reclined. We smelled the wood smoke from the aldens and the dropped apples close by, the wool in our sweaters. I held your damp hand, touched your cold cheek, red to mine. Do you remember my hand holding yours? What autumn gave me? Do you remember the streaked apples? Oh, their reds, their greens.
And Anne?
Yes.
Which one are you reading?
So this one is for my grandmother, Mary Ann Myatt.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, parlez vous français?
I'm good.
Okay.
Don't judge me.
All right, we won't do that.
I'm named after Mary Ann Myatt. My full name is Mary Ann. This has always been my favorite poem. I have such memories as well in raspberries. It seems to be this prominent memory and prominent image for me. So, for my grandmother, Mary Ann Myatt. Mère, if you were alive this morning, I would bring you in your cool kitchen a bowl of red raspberries. You would put down your book and say, "Quelles sont belles! How beautiful they are." Hold the brimming bowl in your 2 hands like a face you love. Lift it to your nose, to your mouth. If you were alive this morning, I might tell you how your joy awaiting me cleared each brim that came in my way.
You know, Susan was in my group for quite a few years, and when you're in a writer's group, you learn, like, you can actually, like, steal things from other people. Let's change the wording on that. You know, you learn how to do things, but that poem is just so beautiful. It's so short and so precise and so perfect. That's a great choice. Thank you. Miss Claire Herson, come on now.
Hi, so I chose pastoral because this is from the perspective of somebody who's a 7-year-old child. I know. But she writes it, from a time when she was that young. And I don't think it's so full of her spirit that it just really spoke to me. And also being in her poetry workshop, there's 3 of us here, 4 of us, that are, or were, that this is something that really spoke to me when we were critiquing it and reading it. So it was called Pastoral. I ignored my mother that Sunday morning. She calling me home from the pasture across the road to go to Mass. This meadow that beckoned me early, acolyte of grass, rock, wall, and pond, of the pebbled brook, that shimmering chain of everywhere and every altar binding me to this joy. And I think Susan was full of this kind of joy. I ran with the stream, lifting water in my hands and throwing offerings to the breeze and onto the tongues of cows and dragonflies who were there, onto the rocks under my bare feet, and cow pies that teemed with little maggots. White life like the rolling of creation itself before the world was flat, before the earth was the center of the universe, before the planet orbited the sun, before we sailed so many seas like invincible gods at the masts, circumnavigating, yet failing to find the mystery of prayer at the brink, like at the edge of nowhere, that is this place. And to the day I said, splaying water from the stream, I am the maker of rainbows. I ignored my mother that Sunday morning. No goodbye and no, I'm coming, Mom. When she called, I imagined her standing on the just swept steps, looking for me. Delicate hand untanned, raised to her brow, the sun, the summer, too much. Terrifying with their bids to abandon, like little fires licking at her heels, her church dress, her hat, my face flickering in the flames of this morning of being 7. Morning like an inhalation of a whole life's breath, an inhalation of ecstasy, of falling, scraping knees, bleeding, of falling, and not caring as I ran, my eyes set on every horizon, and there were so many. Where the stream ran and almost sang, and the cows lifted their eyes to blue sky and bowed to the grass.
This is nice. Standing room only. Dennis Kamiri.
All right, that last poem was really wonderful. It's like one of her best poems. And I would have read it clear had it been before I did. But when I was invited to read a poem at Susan's memorial, and I had the privilege of reading Dylan Thomas's Fern Hill, which was one of Susan's favorite poems, and that's her Fern Hill.
Yeah.
If you go back and you read Dylan Thomas, you see, and it's good. Anyway, I'm going to read one poem from her book. Before I do, I just want to say also that I kind of was introduced to Susan's poetry maybe 15 or 20 or 25 years ago when I moved back to Maine. And I always considered her the unofficial poet laureate of Lewiston. She really did embody the community. And I consider her the poet laureate because A, she's a wonderful poet, but B, you know, she writes about her Canadian heritage and upbringing, and her family history parallels the history of so many immigrants who've come through Lewiston. So she just didn't speak for herself, she spoke for her community, and that's what really, you know, made her work even more endearing and deep and rich. This poem here, I did a column for the Lewiston Sun from like 2018 to 2021, where they allowed me to forward them a poem every week that they published in the Lewiston Sun Journal. And this is one that I published by Susan. So you can still see this online. This is called Hurricane Weather. The hurricane has not hit yet. I ask when, knowing how this closeness with you of word and breath presages a mighty wind, great fluttering of leaves, falling of limbs, and the walls of all those rooms that enclose our sleep hold in our dreams. I mean, all these extravagancies of summer becoming keener will be upended petal by petal, whistle by whistle, call by call. Roses and bobolinks and crickets all hauled into the spiraling. Daughters and sons, fathers and mothers, more distant relations, neighbors and bosses, drawn up into a final fandango before they go into the gust. But I will go straight to the hurricane's eye, flying through the fiercest turning, arrive at the clear silence in the middle, and waltz where only sky will clothe us, where no words, no poems will fall from our tongues, only the hum of old songs we thought we had forgotten, only the sough of summer wind on our lips.
La Famille was very important to Susan, and she did such a wonderful job of imagining things that happened in the past and made them come alive. And you know, I know recently I heard about how somebody said that time is actually happening all at once. And I don't, you know, I'm not a physicist, I'm not telling you how that actually happened, but it just feels kind of sort of like that. So this is called Under Wintry Constellations, and it's a poem about her father. Part 1. 11-year-old boy, thin shadow that you are, your day's work at the brickyard is done. Under wintry constellations of lit windows at twilight, walking past the blocks where Eddie and Teresa and Jerry and Willie live and lean now over their books and lessons. It's hard to see, isn't it, Jim? I had no sympathy for you when it was you struggling. Under 20 or so dim streetlights at dusk, walking past Église Saint-Pierre, where the widows, Madame Gilbert and Thibault, light candles and genuflect and pray, where the organist, Monsieur Perron, practices for Sunday Mass. Under moonlit spires of cold stone at dark, walking past the drift of ghostly notes, past shop windows mirroring a sturdy boy with bare hands and head, with ragged coat. Now you run up the walkway, the wooden steps, the hallway stairs, home. Under the halo of kitchen light, opening the package you carry, extending your hands, giving this gift to your almost blind mother. Her tears of gladness fall as you exclaim, "Voilà le fromage, voilà le pain." Here is the cheese, here is the bread. 2. 11-year-old boy working outdoors, blue eyes tearing with the wind's whip, the dust of bricks counting and loading, pulling wagons, unloading. Count you could, and multiply and divide. Best in your 5th grade class in arithmetic, solving problems even your teacher faulted over at the board. During this, your final year's fool. That story, often told as a moral lesson, about what? What? I wondered. Hearing you, Father, at 80, your blue eyes welling up again, dragging me in, was the lesson we give what we can, or we lose what we hope for, or was it love will bless us with tears? Thank you for listening, and thank you, Susan, for all these wonderful words. So we have 2 more poems, Jay and Mark, 2 more of Susan's poems. And then somewhere we do have a sign-up sheet for the open mic, and we got, we got a desire to let everyone talk, so this is going to be exciting. Jay Franzel.
This is a full house.
Oh yeah, I'd like to thank Dennis for setting this up. It's very fitting to celebrate Susan in this place, downtown Boston. And at this time, when we approach the changing seasons, which is something she was very sensitive to. She was not only a very good writer, but Susan was also a very good reader. She always had compelling insights into other people's work. I think that's because she was a very good listener, which the rest of us can aspire to. And this one's called Elegy. Bending for sweet strawberries, you fall in the late morning heat onto your hands and knees. No dew now on the straw. Sun shed that hours ago. This always was your sort of devotion. The hard ground softened only a little by grass or hay. Your prayers, not talk or chant, but motion, getting, going, moving toward what is, created, breathing, red, sweet, of a season. ending in this, your last week of summers for strawberries. Mark Sweetman.
Yeah, Mark. Some voices fall, never to be heard again, except in the memory of their companions. A poet like Susan, her voice will always be heard. Immigrant Dream 1 by Susan Pelletier. Back then, the city where I was born gave little comfort. It shook me with the clatter of looms and night machines, blinded me with that immigrant dream, burning, angry flames in men's eyes, soot and smoke in the bars, and on the altars, the stuff baked into daily bread. When I read that the quality of mercy is not strained, or how music is the food of love, fair Portia didn't, but beneath wide white porticos did not appear, nor Orsino on that Illyrian bank. The dews of heaven did not rise, sweet strains did not fall, and I saw only the tired stream of men and women treading through the snowy streets to the factories. French people who built the cathedrals, La Montagne, de Blois, Thibault, their backs stooped now with the weight of the dream. Each one carrying a black lunchbox, not trowels, mortar and stone, or loads of shimmering glass, not skeins of silk, wool, and linen, for the woof and weft of 1,000 flowers, virgins and horned horses. Not even my father, once, a boy without boots in the Maine winter, understood why the people were tramping over the old bridges and gathering at mill doors. But then my father was a maker of whole things: houses, fences, gates, tables and chairs, cupboards and counters. And when his saw sang through the board and his hammer drove the nail, the din of those mill machines was stilled. I heard the sweetest strains of labor, and I saw how a world is crafted by two steadfast hands. Immigrant Dream, Part 2. Back then, to keep the incubus out, I filled my bed with thorns and sweets and stayed awake to see just who might be deceived. I knew that if I fell asleep, that my soft thighs and my red right heart would open to the dream. Long tables stretch there. Men are dancing naked. Women are dancing naked. Bales of cotton lie unopened on the floor. Salmon pies are being baked. Some dancers are making love. A fiddler is almost finished with the jig. The whistle blows. The clatter of looms and night machines begins, all the men and women stop dancing, step down from the long tables, and cover their nakedness.
She was a great poet. Yeah, but it's like it had a marketage to it. Like it was like, oh, that was amazing. Thank you. That first movie, it blew my mind.
Thank you, Mark Sweeten. Thank you. And Jim, it's not as good as having her here, but you did a pretty good job, and those were beautiful. That was just beautiful. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone who participated, and yeah, thank you. So we got a lot of people here, and it's really exciting because hey, I think the world kind of needs a tool where you can say what's important to you immediately and accessible, and maybe help the world. Who knows? So we've got 11 names on the open mic list. Anyone else looking for a slot? Everyone else is going to be listening. So we do kind of, we don't want to keep Corey and Angela too late. So we're going to say 5 minutes. No more than 5 minutes. That's a real 5 minutes. That's
Not a poet's 5 minutes.
yeah. Thank you. We've all seen that behavior, right? And we know that we don't want to see it today. So get up here and say what you got to say and get down. Okay.
Get her
That's the plan.
done. Get her done.
And we're just going to go in order here. So Annie is first in line of Lewiston, Maine.
Okay,
Oh yeah.
let's bring it way down here. So this poem was not written by Susan, but poetry has been a huge part of my life because of Susan and Sue, and my mother. My mother passed, and Susan passed, and those were great women in my life, the best women that ever were. So this poem screams at me by Maya Angelou. It's called When Great Trees Fall, When Great Trees Fall. Because they were my great trees. Both of these great women. When great trees fall, rocks on distant hills shudder. Lions hunker down in tall grasses, and even elephants lumber after safety. When great trees fall in forests, small things recoil into silence, their senses eroded beyond fear. When great souls die, the air around us becomes light, rare, sterile. We breathe briefly, our eyes briefly see with her hurtful clarity, our memory suddenly sharpened, examines, gnaws on kind words unsaid, promised walks never taken. Great souls die, and our reality bound to them takes leave of us. Our souls, dependent on their nurture, now shrink, wizened. Our minds, formed and informed by their radiance, fall away. We are not so much maddened as reduced to the unutterable ignorance of dark, cold caves. And when great souls die, after a period, peace blooms, slowly and always irregularly. Spaces fill with a kind of soothing electric vibration, our senses restored, never to be the same. Whisper to us. They existed. They existed. We can be.
be and be better, for they existed.
They existed. Thank you. So, from Newberry? Where's Newberry? Tim from Newberry.
It's in Massachusetts.
Oh, we let you cross the border. All right.
No, but let me have that for you. So, it's pretty amazing the poem that was just read. Yesterday, I wrote a poem about when a tree falls in the woods. So I'm gonna read that one. Pretty amazing. I titled it "The Tree and the Guy," though. If one tree falls and only one guy's around to hear it, I'm a little worried it won't really make a difference if that tree made a sound. Let's say one guy, our guy, hears that mighty tree fall down. Those particles, vibrations internalized all the way down to his cerebellum. He still must preserve the sound. He's got to pass it along. What if that tree in those woods falls plunk, right on that guy's head? The supposed sound, the last thing ringing in his left ear as the blood gurgles out his right. And no one heard the sound. What if that tree misses our guy's head, whiffs, right past him by an inch or less? At least that's a story you can mention at the bar. That's a solid anecdote for sure. Then people will know the sound. But say that tree falls down, way down by the stream past the bend, and say our guy missed most of the tree fall due to other still standing trees, and the sound was faint, still there but faint, muffled by fallen leaves. That's no story to tell when asked how your day went. A note so boring people would rather even hear what he had for breakfast. No one wants to hear the sound. I'm not stuck on if one tree falls and no one is around to hear it. I'm afraid our guy saw it fall, heard it fall, knows it fell, but all not mattering either way. Thank you. I'm not on the line, probably 75 minutes, 75 minutes. But yeah, that poem was, I was really inspired by thinking about longevity of things and, how important events like these are. And, it's one thing to write a poem down, but you gotta spread it, and the impact is pretty unbelievable. And it works. This next poem is called Lovers in Milan. Lovers in Milan latch on like every moment is their last chance to hold on before they're gone to heaven's dawning lights. They press to try to form covalent bonds. With every cork they tighten till they're one for their spectacular romantic grand finale, fireworks and all. Then they voyage abroad or to any bathroom or any sum of feet and miles will make these Milanese mull till their knees go down and they can collapse in the relief of their lovers' shaky arms for another needed grand finale. Thank you.
So, are we famous, in Massachusetts, or did you just happen to be here?
I go to Bates.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, that's great. No, that's wonderful. Newberry, actually, I do know Newberry, and it's a very nice place. So, Sam from Auburn.
I am Sam. I'm local. I'm a regular here. I usually read my own stuff, but I'm reading someone else's poem tonight. This is by Sherry Hammonds. The collection is called Maps of Injury. And this poem, I really like it. It's called Autocorrect. And the premise of the poem is when she's texting, she'll go to text the word love, and her phone will autocorrect it to live. So then, and she must have thought that was funny and overthought it as something I would do, and she wrote a whole poem about it. So.
I know this poem.
You do?
I live it.
Exactly. That's it. So here it is. Autocorrect. Alright, so this is autocorrect. Every time my phone changes love to live, I wonder if it happens because my habits have taught it what it should expect. No one else I talk to seems to have the same problem. Their personal devices change talent to torture, or kiss to kill, or divorce to Disney, in ways that can't be predicted. Mine must have learned that life is more likely than love. Having gone everywhere with me, it sees that I've spent most of my time getting by, buying groceries, paying bills, working under the cold flicker of fluorescent lights, where my computer screen shows the small world bending toward it, me in the middle, and how I linger over any email, no matter how brief, that doesn't try to sell me something. In the meantime, I accidentally tell people that I would live to meet them for lunch some other time, that I lived some new movie, that I used to live the sound of instruments tuning, and how I live the smell of pine trees. It never works the other way. I never lament the high cost of loving lately. Ask what someone does for a loving. Or say, I'm going to see some musician play love. I think of what I don't say that it might change. How I try to love as well as I can. How so often I have loved in fear. Maybe it just knows more about it than I do, that all those times we talked and laughed together, what I really meant to say was that I lived you, I lived you, I lived you. Wow. That's where I get my inspiration from. It's little things like that.
That's awesome. Good job.
Thank you, Sam. And Auburn is a pretty nice place too. And I'm just so proud of all the poets for moving right along.
Oh, this is great. I mean,
All right.
and the serendipity of, him having a tree poem after the tree poem. This is the magic that happens at these gatherings.
The magic
The
that
magic
happens.
that happens.
All right.
Thanks in large part to our ringmaster.
All right, continuing on with the magic. Claire from West Paris. Born in Lewiston.
Yeah.
Short person. And I don't really know how to use a mic, so I'm sorry if I make it squeak later. Third grade reading lesson. At the school it is St. Claude in the morning, Holy Cross in the afternoon. I sit at a dark wood desk like all the others, lined up in rows, gouged with knife and pen, a hole in one corner outlined in ink. I want to put something in there, but I don't know what it would be, just something nice. Mornings, we recite notre catéchisme. Here, les histoires des saints, practice la calligraphie. I understand these lessons. As at home, I understand les ma tante et les mon oncle, mes mères et grand-mère, as I understand my parents speaking English or Francais. But I'm not very smart. When it's time to lire à haute voix, Sister hands me le livre de lecture pour la première année, and I study alone in the hall. Afternoons, we draw an apple in English, do arithmetic and geography in English. Afternoons, each child in turn reads English, the rest of us to follow along in silence. Fast, slow, smooth, stumbling, front to back, row by row, my ears follow the voices. He opened his yes, no, his eyes, as my eyes twitched to Sister walking up and down the roads, and my fingers flipped the pages to find a different story. Today it's a story about a princess who could not cry, But that was not so bad. The trouble was she laughed when it wasn't nice to laugh, until the girl who was poor brought onions to peel, and the heavy black skirt swishes close to my face. The iron crucifix hangs from the big wooden rosary at Sister's waist. I flip back the pages, but this time it's too late. This morning, as I walked to school, a breeze blew yellow grass, and the broken windows of the haunted house at the top of the hill beckoned me to stray. Now I look down, breathe small, until the hard wooden clapper knocks once, stand and wait, knocks twice, form two lines. I slipped sideways to my line. Girls in black dresses, white plastic collars tied with narrow blue ribbon, but Sister points me back to my seat where I don't know if I did a venial sin or a mortal one. And I will write, I will pay attention in class, I will pay attention, I will, 50 times. In second grade, I learned to strike my breast as I recited, by my fault, by my fault, by my most grievous fault. In third grade, I have learned par ma faute, la plus grave. But I don't have words in English or Francais for this thing that is pushing down on me that makes me want to break the air.
Welcome to parochial school. I said welcome to parochial school.
Parlez-vous français très bien?
Yeah.
Mike M. from Lewiston. Now, you a Lewiston native?
No, I moved up here recently.
All right.
Also from Mass.
Welcome.
I apologize. It's okay.
Yeah.
Strangers in the Night, an old song by Burt Camford. I knew the song before I knew the composer's name. Learned it in my latter formative years. Fourth decade hanging around. Pat Conroy taught me many things, but this one south of Broad. Charleston setting, that grand and eloquent city. And less than a decade later, I find myself conversing in North Carolina. Strangers in the night, connected over miles, with worlds of difference set between, but still so much common ground. Like that famous trail running from Maine to Georgia, the familiar to the semi-foreign, though I have picked the cotton from historic fields before traveling further on. Northeast hearts beating in summer lakes, drumming deep within the mountains of my childhood. The years spent learning other things, both painful and necessary, came surfacing like the gators I was gifted one season. The moss of Spain, chiffon and dust, dressing siblings with humid roots dancing in the swamps. Home is wherever you find yourself, spellbound and smiling. Whether taken by a new adventure or the same old routine, familiar with comfort and the repeated patterns of love and decision, sweeping the dirt across boards which have creaked beneath the feet of your dearest ones too many times to count, enjoying the glass of tea on the porch that bears your weight with no complaints or words of reprimand, just thankful for the company as the sun sinks towards submersed in the hazy smudge of night come calling again. Taking the bus or the train or the book of matches from the mantle and wondering how long until the charcoal of the rubble turns to diamonds of joy tumbling from your eyes. Sweet Jesus knows there's been plenty of pressure, strength and abundance, and an almighty testing of virtue and conviction. So in dreams now awoken, the chaos becomes the kingdom. Heaven is each place you place a hand and unlock a breath, and sigh with pleasure at all the things that have gone right, are still going in the direction of that happy feeling. Tenderly seeking wonderland by night, like the moon over Naples, or some candlelight cafe. The one within one another when your flames burn near. Strangers in the night, from bloom to blossom, San Francisco to Sullivan's Island, every place a tenement in a stately colonial manner, eager for the movement of the living, trying to distance themselves from their own pasts and unavoidable futures. Like the Cooper and Ashley rivers, carrying both the light of each passing day and the turbulence of these moments off to the waiting sea. Hopefully you call it college kids if you hadn't read some Pat Conroy. I'll try to get one more quick. Spend your money on what you want. The world is on fire and no one can save you but you. OnlyFans, Patreon, Super Chats, Squishmallows or Skins, whatever keeps your vessel afloat. Different kits for different sigs. Reese's Pieces trail of tricolored carnage, elemental even in the lack of blue. Unbothered in the birchwood or in the pines, where nobody goes. Inside this tin can, I'll shiver the whole night unto. Find your peace in the little things which do not kill, simple joys, fuzzy smiles, the accomplishments of others on the mountaintops you used to look to, slowly ghosting in the haze of something smoky, something acrid, something which used to be contained but is now leaking out, stealing into the soil of the heart and the land, like another derailed train. Chemicals and thoughts, both left unregulated and caustic, shining like rainbows across the surface of your rippling waters, tainting the taste, poisoning the blood, spoiling the meat until all that's left is a bankrupt carapace, a hollow institution claiming its greed is for the greater good, while only looking out for itself. So look after yourself, pursuing happiness in a new set of strings, more blank canvases, a dozen skeins of yarn or salvaged doll parts, all the books, the latest edition of some youthful fancy, action figure 10.0, another spin-off of mediocrity, but if it draws the blinders on the approach of havoc, stealthily treads, approaching steadily, then what's the harm in just a couple additional purchases to calm the nerves, keep the wheels turning, spinning until we sleep. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. So, James Dean? James Dean from Worcester, as opposed to the other James Dean, right?
It's my real name. All right. I have two original poems I'm going to share with you that I've written myself. For the first one, I will ask, the second one is optional, I would ask you all to close your eyes and picture your favorite memory of Susan. She walked in beauty. Today, as I stand firm on this ground, I can see Susan has made a lasting legacy. If you don't believe me, look around to the faces around both you and me. Susan helped build this community, not as a statistic or a filler. Instead, as one for action and unity, Susan will rise up as a pillar. Always with a hand to extend is how Susan answered her call. Each one considered her their friend. Each one felt loved by her, both one and all. Taking note of how things have shifted and evolved. Since she was a young child, Susan welcomed everyone she met with a smile and her unconditional love. For some must have thought or had seen her approach as radical or wild. Ignoring the stares as people would watch, Susan listened to stories of various range. Susan insisted on carving out her own notch, as she believed things had to change. While making her house a home, Susan would welcome family, friends, and immigrants. As laughter and love would set the tone, she took pride in her garden, art, and plants. Susan walked in beauty. In her home she shared, never one for being snooty, instead one who always cared. At times, Susan would sit down, curled up with a favorite book. Other times, it would be with her pad and her pen. While her home smelled of an evening dinner Susan had cooked, she waited for her gin and sometimes their gin. Through the years, 38 of them in total flew by, filled with blessings and tears from the apples of her eyes. As we go our separate ways, from this place we gather, let us not forget or pause. Let us continue to work together, for that will give purpose to Susan's greatest cause. And tonight, when the clouds drift apart while the sun goes down, to make room for the stars as the moon rises high, go out, look up, and be thankful for the friendship you found while listening for Susan's soft and gentle sighs. This next one is very, very brief. I wrote this one back in high school and I was asked to even read it at my graduation, which I did. I wrote this in honor of somebody who I was very close to, who drowned a week after his birthday and a month after he graduated. His name was Troy Howard. If you ever go to Belfast, you'll see a middle school named after him. He was valedictorian of his senior class. I never really had a friend, and he was my friend. Friends. Friends are like trees. Some are tall, some are short. Some are solid as oak, while some are weak as pine. Some stand up strong, while others lay down so you may grow. Some stick with you to the very end, while others get uprooted and leave. Friends.
Thank you, Mike. Sorry.
It's okay.
No, thank you, James Dean. Yes, that was beautiful.
You can say James Dean was here, it's okay.
Yeah, I can now. Yes, right. Right. And yes, you have to turn it this way so you can see the thing. But Alexander, our regular, come on down.
I just want to start off by saying it's really been an honor to experience all the people who have been reading poems for Susan, and it's kind of given the night a little bit more gravitas. I've been here many nights, and tonight feels a little bit more special. So thank you guys who all read earlier. There was a poem about bowls of raspberries earlier that kind of hit me hard, and I just want to say thank you to you guys for showing up. This night feels a little more special than the nights I've been here. Read a couple and get out of here. The Pinecone King could drip his pitch all over the lake shore before Lewis and Child could ever dream of a fish. It's been 20 years since we've seen such clogged gills. 20 years since we threw a penny to make a wish. The lake watchers said they'd never seen the king so angry. Had never seen such voluminous drip. Not even the grass, now even the grass was choking from his wrath. We ran to protect the ship. A boat no mill child could ever picture, yet the world keeps changing, and the smallest flowers keep showing it. In a perfect world, every girl would have labradorite eyes and amethyst minds. For a poet to transcend his mortal coil. The world presents soulless harlots to beat a godchild into submission. Eyes like watery caves under Tenochtitlan, where souls can't escape. Minds like Spanish steel, ready to eviscerate the language meant to soothe. You wonder why people are rude. Easier to enslave a man with no why. Looks up to the sky and sees no moon. This one's called One for Old Friends. We're Mainers, damn it. We go 5 years gone without seeing one another and still act like we saw each other last night in Portland. Share the same stories in fields in Farmington that we did in urban porches parties. What a blessing to see us swim in the sandy river and share beers at an outdoor concert. Nora's children danced around Amos. We watched Lena sing in front of hundreds of people from the front row like we were back on a couch in Orono. 5 years gone, Like a raging fire, the campground manager put a steel lid on and said, go to bed. 5 years gone, like a Labor Day weekend, you want to slow down, that you stare into everyone's eyes like meteors colliding. How beautiful bright faces look soft emerging from the darkness to greet the fire. We laughed the loudest, were the first on the dance floor. We stayed up the latest. You look forward to something and hasten its departure. Melted wax off the dresser covering the calendar. I finally learned to leave with my heart. I'm not one for context, but this last one was kind of me trying to write like a epic meme legend. Like if it was like a fairy tale or something, or like a little story. The key to the state was buried in the brain of an albino moose. It was the age of lobotomy and electroshock therapy, so nobody questioned the invasiveness of such a procedure. It was foretold that the Prince of Maine would slay the creature with steel. Men from all across the state chased the mammal to no avail. The white ghost of the north was cunning and elusive. Men would stop at corner stores with fists full of white hair gathered in the brush, demanding to know the location of the moose, only to be pointed to sheep farms in Washington and derelict retirement homes. Then one day, a man was on the news holding the head of a white moose. The cameras were rolling as mammalian brain splattered on the cracked road. Soon the head became a mass of bone and no key was found. It was the last great legend in Maine, and some say the white ghost still walks. A local man by a corner store said a man hit it with his truck, not a bow, but that's how the story goes.
Yeah, that does sound like us, Alexander. So you back in school?
Yeah.
Are you back with your sixth graders?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Teaching mathematics.
All right, I'm looking forward to hearing poems about that.
Yes.
So, next on the list, Mark from Hebron, which I assume is Mark Sweden, right?
I didn't know I was signing up for that.
Oh, you didn't?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, take the next person.
All right, who's next then? Well, that's
I thought I was just getting in line for your other one there. So
Another
somebody else that
regular
I
of
read.
the venue, Drexel from Oxford.
Drexel, come on down.
There's a dragonfly in the pastoral earlier. I'm going to do a dragonfly poem. This poem was what I wrote to figure out what the tune for a round about dragonflies should sound like. So with a round, you only get one verse because you're going to sing that over and over and over. But what's it going to sound like? So this is, one of my songs that I wrote for, I've written songs for turtles and crickets, amphibian choruses, and they usually, one person said, I feel like I'm 7 years old when I sing this round. This one doesn't, you're not going to feel like 7 years old when you sing this round. So, anyway, I did some research on dragonflies. They're pretty efficient predators. A hawk, falcon, owls, 20 to 25% of the ones they pursue, they catch. Okay? Packs of dogs, maybe up to 40%. Dragonflies, 95 to 98% of pursuits they catch. Yeah. Right. So I'm at a community sing the other night, and the mosquitoes were really getting us. And there's songs to bring up fire, like you're trying to start the fire, and rise up, oh flame, my light. You hope to encourage that fire to build up. But there's also, so that night we were wishing that dragonflies would come. We have a song to come, bring the dragonflies to us and attack our mosquitoes that were. So anyway, they looked at me. It's like, I think that's in your wheelhouse. You need to write a song around about dragonflies. Iridescent twig with stained glass wings and all-seeing eyes. Thankful are we you clear the air of mosquitoes and flies. Millions of years in the making, your design has refined a nearly perfect hunter, beauty and prowess entwined. Mosquitoes and flies annoy me. I nourish them unwillingly. Dragonfly who darts and hovers, please partake of what they took from me. Animal, vegetable, mineral, we are all food to the other. Our substance, song, and spirit replenish this world. So I only got one of those. So here's the tune that came out of that. Iridescent twig with stained glass wings and all-seeing eyes. Thankful are we you clear the air of mosquitoes and flies. Someday they go here.
This year, the dragonflies are extra important because the mosquitoes have been particularly annoying. So we have 2 more readers signed up, and I guess the people who read for Susan did not, we're not going to, anyway, we'll finish with 2 more readers, and then we'll make a decision. So,
David, we want to take a picture of people who read.
Okay. Pictures, all right, yeah. All right. And again, we want to say thank you to Corey and Angela. Who have been absolutely great to us and let us use this wonderful space, and it's so nice to see all these people here. So, Sadie, yes, thank you, right. Sadie. Do we have a Sadie?
It's me.
Oh, okay. All right. Come on down.
Not know Susan, but my friend Sherry, who's here, did, and she told me a little bit about her. So we say in Hebrew, Baruch Dayan Hayamet, may her memory be a blessing. And we are in our holy days between Rosh Hashanah, Shana Tova, to many Jew in the room, Happy New Year, and Good Yontif, Yom Kippur, starts on Sunday evening into Monday. If you have scheduled a test, if you're a professor, cancel it. Be nice to the Jews that you don't know in your room, or a teacher. It's a thing in Maine. I had to do that at Oregon. Okay, so I was choosing, I came here in May, first time, and before, when I came here, my life seemed settled. And then my life fell apart this summer. So you're going to hear some angst, and then you're going to hear some current events, and I hope you understand. And if you don't, say la vie. A lot happened this summer. Who's been through a transition this summer? Post-pandemic? Post-May 11th? How many people, honestly, raise your hand, or you know someone going through a major shift in their life? Yeah, a lot of people. 2023 can go fuck itself. Okay. I'm stepping into Sadie Stone, and that is my
Can we quote you on that?
Oh, you can totally quote me on that, trust me. Sea Therapy, Part 2. I came to the sea to heal my heartache and feel inside of me. And yet when I come to this harbor anew, only old faded memories haunt me. The ones from long ago past that I thought I recovered and sailed past. But alas, they're here at every single corner, like silver-webbed, dew-filled cobwebs gathering dust. Distancing myself from them, I simply must, and only deeply breathe. And truly trust, and keep pushing through and thrust myself into a new growth, a magical phoenix rising transformation as I steadily try to relax and deeply breathe at my relaxation station by the Atlantic Sea. My therapy is that, and my therapy is this, writing prose as much as my lifelong foes, the depression and anxiety, try their best to overcome me yet again. But alas, no, I will not let them, for I unfriended those nasty little buggers who were not awesome huggers and lovers of me. No, they tried so damn hard to drown me at this very sea. The sea against the ledge of granite and limestone with a big fat white house that sheds its light out to the lobsters and fishes. Don't get caught in the web of deceit. Don't let those nasty buggers of anxiety and depression complete your session of life. You know better, alien space mermaid cowgirl. You know better than unfurl and hurl your body against the ledge out to the edge where the light doesn't shine. You know better. You are better. And healed and recovered from 13 years ago with your promise to self. Never, ever, ever put yourself back up on that shelf. No mas, no plus, no più, lo od. No, never again, so here I go. Another one bites the dust. And I will gather all my courage and strength and determination with a bit of moxie and chutzpah. I simply must and trust that my alien space mermaid cowgirl self can gently float and swim on the waves of uncertainty in this version of Sea Therapy, Part 2. Can't remember what I read last time. So to continue the versions of ocean and transformation, deep blue ocean, Mars and Jupiter. Girls are from Mars to get more candy bars, and boys go to Jupiter to get more stupider. Stupider and stupider until they don't recognize or realize the pain and hurt. The raw, heart-breaking, piece by piece into the sea, going downstream in a river of tears towards the Pemaquid oyster farms, only to sound the alarm on the buoy bells. For whom does it ring? He and no one else hears a goddamn thing. Too busy being selfish and stupid, it makes my stomach feel putrid and choke on my own bile early morn from anxiety, only to spit it out against the seagull shit on the parking lots of town where everyone sits. Oops. To stare at the sea, stare deeply into its multiverse, towards the ocean floor. Stare and deeply breathe, breathe and deeply stare. Sit still now. Pray tell. For whom the lonely buoy bell tolls. Ding dong, ping pong, goes my brain, exhausted and can't sleep. The ocean soothes the soothsayer, washed as the salty, sticky sea air from head down to toes. Only the ocean truly knows why the heart of humanity is aching, screaming, and on fire, because we all simply desire some peace, calm, and true healing from the last 3 years from life, filled with far, way too much strife. Even a knife can't cut it. It needs a fucking oyster shucker to push deep in and slice through the fuckery of life. Life in 2023, the year of fives. Do we stay alive or stare into Mother Deep Blue Ocean and take off all our clothes and get into our birthday suit, the birthday suit that is made of Teflon, so strong and beautiful, created by years of dutiful being, the one with the legs so strong from years of dance and rock climbing, kayaking and swimming. Okay, stand on the edge. Stare deeply, Mars space girl. Let's stand and feel the ocean spray against your naked body. And arch your back. Inhale from deep within and dive and not survive but thrive. And those strong legs hit the deep blue ocean water and grow into the mermaid tail of your Mars star girl self. The mermaid tail that is strong and long, iridescent and transcendent. Not like Ariel, oh not like Ariel, oh not like Ariel who wanted land and all the things. Let go of those things and dive deeper, stare harder, breathe easier and swim. Swim to your heart's content, because Mars star girl, mermaid sunshine, you are spent. And you deserve to swim and swim and swim and swim and dive way, 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 way down deep, all the way to the coral full of your own good morals and the lovely pearls in their shell pockets. So go, girl. Get that candy bar on Mars. I know boys are stupider. Jupiter can keep them. Just out of curiosity, how many Jews do we really have in the room? And if you're like Jewish, okay, great. So we have some Jews. How many of you know what's going on in Israel? That they've been fighting for 30 plus weeks every single Saturday, fighting for their democracy against a criminal called Bibi Netanyahu. How many have been following that news? If you don't, go to Times of Israel or Haaretz, and you will see democracy at its stand. What we should do here in America is happening in Israel every single Saturday night and every single day, because the Israelis want their democracy. Oh, Israel. My heart and soul and body and mind bleeds for my gorgeous homeland away from home. Habayit Shali. How do you cry at the river of Jordan and in the highways between Jerusalem and Tel Aviv? How do you spray water canyons against your own people and then go home and not fully see? That Herzl had a vision. Ben Yehuda developed the language we all speak. From Eilat to Mount Hermon, from Jerusalem to Lod, from Haifa to Sderot, from Novgenazar to Beersheba. How do we encounter and how do we connect and how do we lay our swords down? And how do we now protect? How do we balance our Zionistic vision and land for us and land for other, for the chosen and for us worldly Jews and other, when we are so busy fighting each other, ripping on clothes and hair and our Israeli flags and not comforting us, instead we smother? Why do we fight so hard for centuries to have a place in this world? Our fathers and mothers, Moses, Zipporah, Miriam, Aaron, Jacob, Rebecca, Leah, the 12 tribes of Israel, Abraham and Sarai and their godly welcoming tents, saying shalom to all, strangers and animals. Is this all for naught, as we now blow steam and vent? What did they do and fight so hard for us and help free us? And we are eating each other alive in 2023. Years of chaos and mystery of why we let a global pandemic and years of who is actually a Jew not free us of our burdens and simply just be. We let that fester and feast and fester, and we let it grew all night. But we knew. Our ancestors made their memories be a blessing. Our philosophers and rabbis and cantors, our poets, musicians, artists and dancers, our engineers, doctors, lawyers, and tech gurus fighting all sorts of cancer. They all face each other now in the streets, named after our leaders. and spit and shout and curse and swear, and forgot that they are all readers of the same Torah, the same words of ancient Hebrew, read each week in parsha form with olive wooden yads that we grew. We grew those ancient olive trees and oranges, lemons, limes, and fields of dates, and now this Shabbat, the criminal prime minister tries to control a weak government and state, a state that is on the precipice of their 75-year-old democracy. How do we know if we can't see our enemy when we hold so tightly to our own individual philosophy? What if we joined our collective hands, achi, brothers, the achot, sisters? And what if we joined our gorgeous hearts instead of beating at each other's throats? What if we sat down to a plate of pita hummus and olives, talked instead of yelled, deeply listened to each other, and slowly, surely come together to solve the ancient fight of who is a Jew? Well, we all have the same mother. Her name is Sarai, and her father is Abraham, living in then the land of Canaan, welcoming of all. Under the glorious gargantuan tents, the tents under the hot Israeli sun, the shemesh that burns into the Mediterranean Sea, and the sea that gives us fresh, salty mayim, water, the same sea. The sea sets us all free from the harshness of slavery, the slavery under Pharaoh when Moses and Aaron and Miriam shouted and screamed, "Let my people go." After years and years, we finally left and walked for a long 40 years into the desert. We were all spent so much we bowed to a golden calf instead of accepting the gift from Hashem, God, which Moses then smashed in half. We finally saw the truth of Hashem's kindness and accepted Hashem's greatest gift of all, the Ten Commandments, and stopped our blindness. Hashem's greatest gift, inscribed on 2 tablets made out of stone, they laid out the basic golden rules of how to relate to ourselves and to our communities, and we as a collective Jewish race finally accepted our chosen path, status, and faced our greatest gift. We ate manna from heaven for when it was sent, and spent more time walking with Moses, Miriam, and Aaron through the desert, and we were spent. I'm almost done. But we finally arrived on the border of the greatest gift, and we received the land of milk and honey and understood why we were all set free. Free to choose, free to wander, free to pray, and free to ponder, and free to be who we always were, and most certainly are Hashem's beloved chosen children. It was written in the stars. But have we fallen so far in 2023? How much more do we fight? And with how much more might? Now, in 2023, can we truly save our cherished democracy?
That's a pretty darn good question.
That is not for debate today, it's just a poem. I will not be debating it later.
Well, right, I think there'll be more talk about that in the world, and all those issues you brought up. Thank you. So we have one more poet on the list. Is there anyone else that would like to read? All right. A couple of people, all right. I know we have Sarah from Rockport is on the list, so. Sarah, why don't you come on up?
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I brought my phone as a flashlight just in case the light is bad. I planned to read 2, but for the time I'm only going to read 1. I'm only going to read 1. And
Read what you
I
want.
want it to be for you, Marianne. You go by Annie, yes? Yes. Okay, so I want this one to be for you. This is an epistolary poem that I wrote to my grandmother, who is one of the most special people to me in my life. And she had studied anthropology at Radcliffe when she was younger in the 1940s during the war. So she was obsessed with Egyptology and had visited Egypt many times in her life. And she lived in Alexandria, where she always hosted an Egyptian student who was usually attending American University. And I will say one Egyptian term, ket, which in their funerary texts means the physical body. it's also a contrapuntal, but I'm only going to read it one way. So, dear grandmother, remember when I last visited you in the room with the lotus hospice sheets? Your hands curled in like talons. I massaged and bled my warmth into you. I stacked in smooth blankets over your bones that longed for the underworld, checked the rhythm of morphine drip, assured you your children were on the way. Remember when you visited me in the guest room where I slept on the night of your crossing? You provided comfort and protection, now separated from your pet, appeared first as an apparition I'd recognize, smiled, silent as an ostrich feather, then shifted your image to dunking a basketball, to show me pain stays in this world, and conjured visions of easels to say you approved of my artistry because you knew I'd understand. Remember when years later I accidentally called you back? I was prone on a hypnotist sofa and you came immediately to provide insight into my questions because our bond transcended time. You showed me that we blossom year after year, from zygote through death, from pain that clenches the hands, the way apple petals unfurl and drop to fertilize the same hallowed soil, the alchemist's spell for immortality. Remember? Remember? I do. Maybe you'll get really lucky and have another opportunity.
Thank you, everybody. We have two people that have asked to read, and we try to be inclusive here. So, but I do want to ask the last two readers to remember that we're all tired now. So,
speak for yourself,
Chris,
David.
Come on now. All right. Yes, I'm tired. Right? The rest of you are probably just waking up.
David just
But I
wants,
also hate it. You know, I hate
David
it
just
when-
wants a pre-roll and sweet.
Pre-roll, I didn't know we were doing that.
Chris.
Hey now.
I gotta drive home. So.
Hello. I didn't know I was going to do this tonight, and this isn't an original poem, but I think it's really poignant for the energy in the room this evening. So this is a song that was written by Jerry Reed, and I had the privilege of listening to Tommy Emmanuel sing that twice on stage. I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with Tommy Emmanuel, but he's extraordinary, and I don't think I'll do this justice.
I thought he was a guitar player.
All right, are we ready? Can you hear me? Today is mine. When the sun came up this morning, I took the time to watch it rise. As its beauty struck the darkness from the skies, I thought how small and unimportant all my troubles seemed to be, and how lucky another day belongs to me. And as the sleepy world around me woke up to the great day, and all its silent beauty seemed to say, so what, my friend, if all your dreams you haven't realized? Look around, you get a whole new day to try. Today is mine to do with what I will. Today is mine, my own special cup to fill. To die a little that I might learn to live, and take from life that I might learn to give. Today is mine. With all men I curse the present that seems void of peace of mind, and race my thoughts beyond tomorrow and vision their more peace of mind. But when I view the day around me, I can see the fool I've been, for today is the only garden we can tend. Today is mine to do with what I will. Today is mine, my own special cup to fill. To die a little that I might learn to live, and to take from life that I might learn to give. Today is mine.
day is mine. So, Troy, come on down, you're gonna end it for us.
Oh, Troy!
Thank you, we do this every month. We'll be back again next, on the third Thursday of, October, and it's gonna be just as wild and crazy.
Spooky season.
Yeah, come on, Troy.
Alrighty, thank you. Well, for all intents and purposes, I'm gonna keep introduction short. The poem is called War Father. Tell me what you think. There was an inexplicable weight in the craft. It was moving towards perfection as long as the centrifugal force didn't tear me apart. Something about staying still seemed to fit me best. I was some sort of beast with a feral mind but a feeble body. There was no way forward. But to put the gloves and wraps on was a completely different endeavor. The height of civilization was the proper way to express that which stopped it from advancing altogether. Zero acceleration and absolute zero vector. No ambition to be had. The 1-2 was not enough to win from a neutral position. Straights, jabs, hooks, upswings, those were all fair game. Don't use your feet like a panther ready to end its prey, simple yet glorious life. Use your fists. Outside or inside, there was something beautiful in each strike, hit, and click. Be a man. Settle for what you can, because once is usually a luxury for most. To stand above means to witness the indignation of all that are below. The weight of the craft is a predatory drive that you must stave against at all costs, lest it consume you. Though you may keep your life, losing your honor is a sure death for all. Do what you can, because each loss will leave an imperfection in your potential, like a lump of iron. Don't drown in ambitions. Be within your means and pierce the sky as far as you can reach. Oxymoronic but true. Be the quantum that splits light, because the shadow that lands will sink you. An anomaly that defines all, that is who you shall be. The chi that surrounds you, one day it will be all gone. So hone it until the electricity seems to crackle out your arms. Once your mortal strength is gone, the weakness of decline sets in. Enjoy the repose, knowing this breath is your last.
Brother.
Okay, so we're gonna do a picture of the people who read Susan's poems are gonna come up. And everyone else is gonna,
Frig off.
remember to say thank you to Corey and Angela, and appreciate Cafe.
Thanks for joining us.
Come back. Bye.